So the other day, I was watching a Star Wars video, and being a nerd, and I saw a character design that I never saw before. It was a character named Turgle, which I think is supposed to be kind of a cross between a frog and a turtle. He really looks more like a frog to me. I thought he was super cute and a fun little design, and it inspired an idea that just sort of popped in my head, which was to draw a cowboy frog. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you a little time lapse of the drawing process, and come on and join me. Here we are over at the drawing tablet, and today I'm drawing this in Krita, which honestly I've been using for a long time now. It's an art program that's free, and there's some great brushes on there. It does crash on me from time to time, but hey, I'm not going to get mad at it for that. It's free, it's great. If you don't want to spend a lot of money on art programs and you're trying to try some new things out, give Krita a try, it's pretty nice. But yeah, you can see here I'm trying to work out the shapes, the shape language, the posing of this frog character. When I started in the beginning, I had a few sketches there that were more triangular. But he sort of turned into, I guess, more of like a rounded box by the end of it all. And I'm always messing with the proportions and the warping the drawing. Like, it's the joys of digital drawing where you can just select things and move them and shrink or grow or just change what you're doing. And where on paper you've got to erase, buddy, you got to grab your eraser and start over again. But yeah, I don't know if any of you out there have this horrible habit that I do, but I tend to draw the head way too big. And I always have to shrink the head back down to be correctly proportioned to the body. But yeah, here's the pistol. I decided to give him a pistol based on just looking at different kind of classic like Western movie guns online. And I'm not super familiar with different pistols or gun types or common ones that you'd see in westerns. I'm not really super familiar with drawing them either, so it was kind of a little learning curve there, figuring out how to break a gun down into the different shapes and go from there. Here you can see I'm drawing a companion because I thought this would make a nice duo piece. And I started out with a dragon because I thought it might go with our little amphibian here quite well. But I ended up not liking how it looked. And you'll see later on, I kind of go over it in red, and I change it into something that I always fall back on, and that's drawing dogs. I just love drawing any sort of canine. It's fun, and it just fit this character better with how I saw it in my mind's eye. You can see I'm always messing with the pose. Sometimes I take the whole drawing and warp it with the selection tool when I'm done, just to see if I can push the extremes of the pose even more. And you want to have a nice dynamic pose for your character, you know? You don't want your character standing there staring at you menacingly, just completely static. You know, you want something that feels dynamic. And I guess that's probably my animation background coming in there. But I just wanted to give these two very different personalities too. Also by the way that they dress. Like the frog, you can see that his jacket is very weathered and he's been through a lot of adventures and he's a bit more rough around the edges. And the dog seems to be a bit more prim and proper and is wearing darker clothes and I think, you know, has almost this priestly like appearance to him. So kind of playing with different personalities, trying to convey that in the drawings and the poses alone. And now we're getting to the line work, which line work can be tricky, but I've been practicing it a lot lately. I've always wondered how to get better at it, and I really do think that it's just practice makes perfect with it. Like, the more that you do it, I think the more comfortable you get using the pen, and you just got to be confident with your lines. And one of the things that I learned, too, is not to worry about trying to get the perfect connections on lines that are like tangent to each other or anything, because you can always go in and erase and clean that up. And I think that it again allows you to loosen up and make the lines look more confident. You can definitely feel that in a drawing whenever the lines aren't confident. it takes a lot of letting go of perfectionism and practice, at least for me, to comfortably draw loosely and not tighten up during the process. And even though you are tightening things up for the line work, you still want to put your shoulder into it. You don't want to get carpal tunnel, for goodness sakes. So now you can see I'm grabbing some different reference images. I love to just pull some colors from them as a starting point, and then I might tweak them a little bit to fit the palette that we're building here. And in the post-processing phase of adding extra effects on top of the image, which we'll talk about at the end, I also like to add a bit of a color temperature change just to make all of the different colors feel a little bit more married together. And I'm also going over my originally black line work and adding a bunch of color that's just a little bit of a darker color than the base color of the character. I think that just gives it that sort of animation cell look and makes the lines not entirely disappear, but feel a little bit lighter. I kind of like that style. And we're putting in some shading as well. Just adding new layers that are masked to the base color, and you can mess with the opacity and the settings of the layer. There's all kinds of cool effects you can do with that. I think here I'm using soft light. It's usually between soft light and multiply for me, but it might change depending on your program. And one of the things that I added on top of the frog was this sort of gradient that goes from a light yellowish color to a dark, cooler blue. And it's real subtle, but I think it just creates extra interest with the lighting. That's not a hard shadow. It's just a very gradual gradient. I think just makes it pop a little bit more, makes it a little bit more vibrant, interesting to look at. Here you can see I'm changing my design. I'm turning this dragon into a dog, but keeping the big curly mustache though. I found that interesting that I decided to keep that in there. But yeah, just was not happy with the original design. So, hey, you can go in and change it. It's just a drawing. You can try it again if you want. But I was happy with his outfit, and I went ahead and basically kept that, maybe with a few extra details added here and there. I also found the ears tricky to figure out. It's like, I guess there's holes in the hat for his ears to go through. I don't know. That's always a weird question when you're trying to put a hat on an animal. It's like, what am I going to do with the ears? Or what do I do with the tail? Is the tail tucked in the pants, or is there a hole in the pants for the tail to come out? Or is it coming up over the pants? I don't know. I don't know how this man dresses. I have no clue. But, by the way, if you like some of the music that you hear in the background of this video, I wrote all this stuff, and I've got it over on my Bandcamp page, which you can stream some of my music on there for free. But if you do feel so inclined, you can buy the digital downloads of my albums on there, and it would be so greatly appreciated. But yeah, if you like this kind of orchestral music, I got a ton of stuff over there that you can check out. I'll leave a link on the screen here. So yeah, thanks for checking out my stuff. Much appreciated. Well, also, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what's going on. Since you're sticking around this long, it's a new year. It's January of 2026 at the time of this video, which is pretty exciting. You know, I know that last year was kind of crazy. I'm sure for a lot of you out there, it was a crazy year. So I'm hoping that you all have a very good year, a very productive year, that you're able to accomplish the goals that you set out to do, but also that you have some good quality time, some good mental health, growth, all that good stuff in the new year. And I think it's, you know, it's a year where we need art, and we need to make our weird, wacky, crazy stuff more than ever, because with all of the, I'm so tired of talking about it, but all of the AI stuff that is constantly thrown at us, you know, we've got to be out here being unique and doing our own thing, because, you know, AI is so generic, and I think it's just pushing, at least to me, it's like it's pushing us to be wacky and creative and do the stuff that only humans can truly create. So, yeah, keep making art out there, folks. It's tough. I know it's crazy right now, but we got to stick in this together. And I really think the sense of community, that's one of my New Year resolutions is I want to I want to get more involved with the art community than I was last year. And just want to be putting out more art, just more stuff that I'm working on. For sure. So, and thank you for checking this stuff out. And hey, let me know in the comments what do you got going on this year? What are your resolutions? What kind of art have you been working on? I love to hear it. You can see here in the drawing, I thought I'd give it a little bit of a backdrop. So I added some like canyon silhouettes, just something simple. Because the characters are the star, but I wanted to evoke the desert behind them. You can see here I'm adding some clouds, real big fluffy cartoony clouds. And then I move into Affinity Designer, where I do a little bit of post-processing. I love to add textures and mess with the layer properties to just get something that looks cool on top. And it just really ties everything together. Hey, thanks for sticking around so long. I appreciate you being here, and thanks for, checking out the drawing video today. I'll see you in the next one.